Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the class of OPM. Today's is our last class of OPM. Last class of aggregate planning. It is the last lecture of aggregate planning. We have already discussed in detail what's mean by aggregate planning and two techniques. First one is trial and error, and the second one is linear programming. Now the topic is aggregate planning in services. The planning in aggregate planning in services is same just like in planning in production system, but there are some differences in production system and services. First one, services occur when they are rendered, means they cannot be inventorized or they cannot be saved, as we have discussed earlier. In trial and error method, there is some holding cost. Example, we have taken $1 per inventory as a holding cost, and in linear programming we have taken $8 per inventory holding cost. So we can't hold our inventory services. If suppose I am a doctor and I have to provide services to my patient, I can't provide my services and save it some stock way, and when there is a demand is too much, I will take the services and provide it to my patient. It obviously, when it is required, it will be rendered when it will occur only when it is rendered. So the first one difference in services is the services can't be stored or it can't be held or it can't be saved. Second one is demand for services can be difficult to predict. It's very difficult to predict what will be the demand for my services. Suppose I'm a beautician, I have a parlor, so I don't know how much demand will come. I know that is the weather is a wedding weather, so maybe the client come to my parlor and demand may increase in this specific time, but may customer do not like to come to my parlor. Maybe they would like or maybe they like my parlor much more as compared to other parlors. So the demand may be much more high or demand may be much more less or demand may be adequate. So I can't predict my demand. Suppose I am a teacher and I am expecting the tuitions from the students, so I don't know exactly how much people will come for tuition to my academy. And suppose I am a doctor, so I don't know how much patient will come today. Maybe there will be 5 patients, maybe there is 10 patients, or maybe there will be 50 patients. So it's very difficult to predict the demand in services. Capacity, because it basically depends on human nature. Suppose you have decided to go to the doctor, and the doctor did not take, suppose doctor is not taking any appointments, because the doctor taking appointment is basically the method of predicting demand. So suppose we have taken assumption that there is no appointment, so it will depend upon your mood. So maybe you delay your consultation with doctor on other day. So that's the situation. Or in most situation, doctor take an appointment, but it will this method is only applied on highly qualified doctors, or other small situations or small clinics are unable to apply this method. Again the problem of prediction arises. Capacity available can be difficult to predict. We can't predict exactly what is our capacity, how much we can produce, because there are different variables which affect our services. Suppose what will be the capacity of a person who paint interior of house. Suppose I am a painter, I am painting a house. So if I am saying that I will paint this much amount for one room, the size of room may be changed. Or if I say that I will paint this much amount for square feet, the square feet will be changed from area to area. And similarly, suppose I am providing services, or I am providing tuition services. So what will be my capacity, how much we will charge for how much course, and it is very difficult to predict capacity. The last one, labor flexibility can be advantage in the services. Labor flexibility means humans are flexible. Suppose I have employees, I have a college, and the demand a certain demand increase. So I may request my teachers that you are taking 4 classes, kindly take 6 classes. Means I am loading them up to higher level, so I can adjust. Or suppose I have a parlor and normally the demand is 5 customer per hour, but at that specific day the 10 customer comes. So I will ask my service providers to be quick and hurry up, don't talk, don't discuss, just concentrate on your task. Basically, I am increasing the capacity of my worker. This is the advantage which comes in services organization. The next one is disaggregated aggregate plans. Means now I am separating the aggregate plan. Aggregate plan is as a whole plan for a period. In aggregate plan we have taken different type of products as a whole. Now I am disaggregating, because suppose I have make an aggregate plan for clothes of, so there are different type of clothes, maybe khadar, merino, cotton, linen, and so on. Suppose I have these 4 categories and I have make an aggregate plan that the demand for this will be 500 meter will be. So what will be the demand for khadar, what will be the demand for merino, what will be the demand for cotton, and what will be the demand for linen? These are the questions which arise in our mind, and to give the answer of this specific question, we must be clear about the demand of this specific quantity. And if we are not known, we are just focusing on aggregate demand, then how can we make a production? Look at the book. For production plan to be translated in meaningful term for production, it is necessary to disaggregate the aggregate plan. It involves breaking down the aggregate plan into specific product requirement in order to determine label requirement. So once we distribute or disaggregate our plan, then we will able to know our label requirement, then we will able to know material requirement, inventory requirement, and the whole requirement is known as material requirement planning. We will do this planning after we will disaggregate our plan. And breaking with aggregate plan facility intermediate plan. Aggregate plan is basically intermediate plan for a plan of 1 year, but once we will disaggregate the aggregate plan into some portion, then it will known then it will be a short term plan. It will be for a month or for a week. Suppose we are saying the manufacturer have a plan for a call 200 lawn movers in January, 300 February, 400 March, and so on. The company may produce push and prone and riding movers. Although all the mover probably contain some parts involve some similar, means all things have some similar quantity, similar feature. As I have taken the example of clothes, everyone that's a khadar or merino or cotton, everyone is a cloth, everyone is a fabric. So now I have to distribute this 200, 300, 4 aggregate mover plan to sub plans. Suppose I have decided 500, so I have to decide what is the requirement of khadar. Maybe it's 100, so then I have to distribute it from period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4, maybe 25, 25, 25, 25, and what will be my distribution, and so on. So the more specific plan, the more schedule horizon cover of 8 weeks, mostly it called as master scheduling or disaggregate plan, also known as master scheduling. What is master scheduling? The result of disaggregate and aggregate plan show quantity, timing of specific end item for a scheduled horizon. Scheduled horizon, it will the scheduled horizon, and it will showing the how much quantity or item or for how much time period it will be produced. Or rough outcut capacity planning, approximate balancing of capacity and demand to test the feasibility of a master plan. We will approximate the capacity of our production and demand to know that either it is plan is feasible or not. Instead of now I will take an example. Suppose monthly plan is January 200, February 300, March 200, and now I will disaggregate the plan or make a master schedule. January push of 100, 75, riding 25. Similarly, push 100, 150, 50, 100, 200, 100. These are the disaggregation or master scheduling of the plan. But make sure as it is added, it will be result in 200, and in aggregate plan the same 200 is available here. We must be sure that it may be not same in real life. In real life, when I am making a disaggregate or master scheduling, there will maybe some changes arise due to the requirement of the customers. So it will normally not same in real situation, but we are taking it same, so make our calculation easier and simple. In master scheduling, what are the beginning and what are the inputs comes is in our scheduling or in our disaggregating process. First one is beginning inventory, second one is the forecast we have made, and third one is customer order. These are the basically inputs to our master scheduling. When we are making our disaggregate plan, or when we are making our short term plan, or when we are making our master scheduling, three things are available with us. First one is beginning, second one is forecasted demand, and third one is customer order. And what will result after scheduling? First one is what will be our inventory requirement, what will be our production schedule, and what will our uncommitted inventory, which are will come with this inventory come according to the requirement of the customers. Now take this graph. Suppose in June I have to produce 30 units in period 1, 30 units in period 2, 30 units in period 3, 30 units in period 4. How I can distribute this 4 periods, as I have taken that the demand or forecasted demand for the June will be 120, and I have distributed 120 into equal categories, and similarly I have done with the month of July. Now I have some beginning inventory. Also beginning inventory was 64 at the start of the June, and the demand was 30, 30, 30. But what will the real customer order demand? As I have mentioned you that the input is the beginning inventory, the second one is forecast, and third one is customer order. So first one is a beginning inventory, second one is forecast, and the real customer order are mentioned here. In first period the customer ordered 33 unit, next second period 20 unit, third period 10 unit, fourth 4 unit, and the 2 units are demanded by the customer. So how much we are required to produce? The question arises to know about the production. First of all, we must have to know about the ending inventory, which will become beginning inventory in the second period. Beginning inventory was 64 and our requirement is 33. Why we are not taking 30? Because if we say that our requirement of production is 30, then the customer requirement is 33, then we are unable to fulfill the customer requirement. 3 units will be left and it will be gone to the back order. But now I will try my best to avoid back order. So and I already am preparing a plan for a short term period. So I will take that the beginning inventory is 64 and my requirement is 30. So 60 minus 31, 3 is equal to 31. It will become my ending inventory and it will become beginning inventory in the second period. Also the formula is given in the book. What will the projected ending inventory from the previous period or beginning inventory plus current air requirement. Current air requirement means you must have to make your mind clear that current air requirement may be your forecasted amount or maybe customer order, whichever is higher. If a customer demanding much more amount of quantity, then customer amount will be our requirement. But if our production requirement is higher, so we will take production as our requirement. Because suppose I need to produce 50 units, but customer are demanding only 5 units. So first of all, I have to fulfill my customer requirements, and then I will move towards so first of all I will have to fulfill my own requirement of production, then I will move towards the customer order. So if I have need of producing 50 units but customer are demanding 100 units, so first of all I have to fulfill my customer requirements, then I will move toward my production. Because once if I say that I will just concerned with my production, what will be the situation when I am unable to fulfill customer production, and what if I am just focusing on customer production and I am not focusing on requirement? What will be the next period when requirement is too high, because I did not even fulfill my initial requirement. Now the beginning inventory is 64 and we have deducted our requirement, and ending inventory is 31. 31 is the beginning inventory for the next period, and our requirement is 30. We are not taking 20. Our ending inventory is 1, and next year 1 is our beginning inventory, and our requirement is 30 and it is minus 29. If you are not clear, just come to this table. In period 1 our opening inventory is 64, our requirement is 33, our ending is 31, because 61 minus 33 is equal to 31, and our period ending inventory is 31. In the next period 31 is the beginning inventory, 30 is our requirement, and our ending inventory is 1. 1 is our ending and 1 become the opening inventory. In the next period the requirement is 30. 1 minus 30, so it will become minus 29. When the figure comes in minus, it's we have make a plan or we have make a master schedule that we will produce 70 units as a whole. When you produce 70 units, 29 minus will be deducted and 41 units are left for the next period. 41 are the beginning for the next period, 30 is the requirement, 11 left, 11 is the ending, and 11 become opening in the next period. Requirement is 13. Now again 41, 30, 11 is opening and our requirement is 40. So again minus 29 comes, and again we will produce 70. So we are left with 41 units. 41 is the beginning, our requirement is 40. 1 left, 1 is the ending, 1 come for the beginning, our requirement is 40. We are again in a situation of minus 39, so we will produce 70 units. If 31 units are left with us, 31 units, requirement is 40, again minus 9, so we will produce 70 units, and 61 is the ending. When we will put this whole situation in a diagram, we just put when we are in need of producing 70 units, these are the ending inventories: 31, 1, 41, 11, 41, 1, 31, 61, as I have we have discussed in last situation. This is the ending inventories, and 70 when we are in need to produce 70 unit in the period of third period, in fifth period, in 7 and 8. So I will put 70 in those specific periods when we are in need to produce 70 units. Now they will make a master schedule, or they will make a plan that the requirement is 33 and 20 is a customer order, and opening inventory is 64. So if I just produce 11, I am able to fulfill my customer order. If I am not focusing on my own requirement, if I am focusing on customer orders only, so how can I produce? I will produce in this manner. And the next period, the customer order is 10 and 4, and opening is I have produced 11. What will be my requirement? I have to produce 70 units, because I already discussed that I am producing 70 units. Basically this is the situation, because look at this diagram. We are nothing producing in period 1 and not in period 2. Now I am deciding to produce in each period at least minimum, or I am not producing in any period. Then I have left only one period, so that I am able to produce in next period, and I don't have to face a situation of like 70 bulk production. So in this situation, the demand is 33 and 20 and 64 is opening. I just produce 11 unit. I can fulfill my demand of 11 period 1 and period 2. At the next period, the protein demand is only 14, but I have to produce 70 units, so I have left with 56 units. In the next period, I have demand of 42, 4 and 2, and I have to produce 70 units, so I left with 68 units. In the next period, I have no demand, and I am producing 70, 70, and I am left with 70 and 70 units. This is the situation. In this situation, I will say that period 1, 2, 3 is a freeze period, because in this period, I am not going to 70 unit. I am just producing minimum unit, and I have a demand with the customer, so I can't change this period. In the next period, the period is we can make some changes up to 7 period, but we are unable to make too much changes, which we will make those changes which are needed. And period in this question, the frozen period is period 1, 2 and 3, and firm period is 4 to 9, which we can make 4, 5, 6, in which make some changes, and 7, 8 is the open period in which we make any changes up to our requirement, but in period 4, 5, 6 we will make only those changes which are required by the customer, which are essential for the organizations. Again, I am saying that if you have any query, any question, please ask in comments, so that I am able to answer your questions and your point will become more clear. This question or this topic is taken from the book of OPN. This one is the book. If you find any difficulty, you can take this book and ask any question. You are free to ask question. Thank you.